Welcome back, everyone, to Sip and Talk.
Great to be back. We are ready to jump into what feels like a whirlwind past day or two. Got a whole stack of insights here.
Yeah, lots going on.
For sure. We're talking some serious legislative drama, new global trade threats popping up, even a bit of a tech titan spat and, market shifts that could definitely affect you.
And what's really interesting, I think, is seeing how these pieces connect. We've been digging through financial reports, parliamentary notes, expert takes, all super current, right up to July 1st, 2025.
Right.
And the goal today is really just to pull out the important bits, connect those dots between, say, what's happening in Congress, international trade, and how the markets are reacting. Sort of cut through the noise for you.
Okay, let's get right into it then. The Senate. Wow. That was a nail-biter, wasn't it?
Oh, absolutely. Couldn't have scripted it better.
Seriously, President Trump's huge tax and spending cut package, and the numbers are all over the place, like $3 trillion, maybe 3.3. Some even say over $4 trillion. The vote, deadlocked, 50-50.
Right down the middle.
And guess who breaks the tie? Vice President J.D. Vance comes in, casts the deciding vote. Applause from the Republican side. You know the scene.
Yep.
But here's the twist, and this is fascinating. 3 Republican senators voted no.
Yeah, that was notable.
Tom Tillis, Susan Collins, and Rand Paul, which is, pretty rare. And Tillis, just before this, announces he's not running for re-election, then votes no.
Talk about going out with a bang.
Definitely raised some eyebrows. So, okay, the bill passes the Senate, but now it goes over to the House. First the Rules Committee, then maybe a floor vote, maybe even tomorrow. But the House, well, Speaker Johnson might be feeling the heat. The Republicans there are, let's say, not entirely on the same page.
Just putting it mildly.
You got the Freedom Caucus, right? They're not happy about the spending side because the parliamentarian, who's like the rule referee for Congress, knocked out maybe $200-300 billion in supposed savings.
Ouch.
Yeah. So now the bill adds like $400 billion more to the deficit compared to the version the House originally passed. Okay.
And then you have the moderates, who are getting nervous about the cuts to Medicaid.
So it's like different factions pulling it apart, and this deadline thing. They're pulling all-nighters, but Congress hasn't passed a budget on time in, decades?
Feels like it. It does seem like a bit of a made-up deadline in that sense.
Right.
But, maybe it's the only way to force some kind of action when the party's divided. It's like political duct tape holding it together. Speaker Johnson's probably pretty anxious.
Duct tape is a good word for it.
And there's already talk, maybe down the line they might try a 2-bill approach, split up the tax cuts and the spending cuts. But that's just speculation for now.
Okay, so let's connect this back. What does this mean for you listening? Well, the Democrats are obviously strongly against it. Leader Hakeem Jeffries called it a one big ugly bill, a GOP tax scam, even an economic death spiral. Says it'll add over $3 trillion to the debt.
Strong words.
Very. But then you look at the nonpartisan committee for a responsible federal budget. They're saying the Senate actually made the bill worse.
Worse? How so?
Added another $1 trillion to the cost, mainly through more tax breaks and what they call special interest giveaways.
Wow, another $1 trillion.
Yeah. And Maya McGuinness, who heads that committee, she basically called the claims about economic growth from these cuts fantastical, farcical. She thinks it'll actually hurt growth overall because we're borrowing so much on top of already high debt. And the real deadline, the one that's not made up, the debt ceiling. If they don't sort this out, we could hit a point where the U.S. can't make its payments maybe by August. That's serious.
That is absolutely serious. And that kind of global economic risk ties right into the next big thing, trade tensions flaring up again.
Exactly. President Trump's back with tariff threats. Japan seems to be the main target right now. He set a July 9th deadline, says he won't budge.
What's the sticking point with Japan?
Autos, unsurprisingly.
Right.
But also, get this. Japanese rice. Apparently, that's a really sensitive market for them, culturally and politically, like almost sacred, according to some reports.
Interesting.
Yeah. And there's worry that Japan might get a worse deal than the UK did, which wouldn't look great globally. Meanwhile, the EU, they're sounding maybe cautiously optimistic.
Oh.
They seem okay with a general 10% tariff, but want lower rates for certain things. But they're also prepped with $116 billion in retaliatory tariffs just in case.
So they're ready to hit back if needed.
Definitely. And considering US-EU trade is like $1 trillion a year. Yeah, 50% tariffs would be, as one person put it, unfathomable.
Unfathomable is right.
Although Treasury Secretary Besant did kind of hint Trump might delay that deadline, so maybe more posturing. We'll have to see.
It's fascinating how the central banks are reacting or planning to react. Fed Chair Powell seems focused on the size of these potential tariffs.
Right. He said that's basically what's stopping the Fed from easing policy, right? Lowering rates.
Pretty much. He expects the tariffs will pop up in the inflation numbers this summer. He called it a one-time hit. Said it could push inflation up maybe a full percentage point. Like if it's 2.25%, it jumps to 3.25%. But he also stressed they're waiting and seeing, sticking to the data.
But wait, not all the central banks see it that way, do they?
Not at all. And this is where it gets really interesting. The Bank of Korea, they actually think tariffs could be deflationary.
Deflationary?
How? Their logic is, well, retaliation from other countries, plus falling prices for Chinese exports, plus just weaker global demand overall could actually push prices down. They're more worried about growth slowing.
Okay, that's a totally different take.
Totally. Then you have the Bank of England. They think it's just too early to tell about prices. They see risks on both sides. Could be weaker demand, could be supply chain chaos pushing prices up.
So kind of hedging their bets?
Exactly. And the Bank of Japan, they also see negative effects coming, but haven't seen them yet. They've got this weird stagflation risk. Tariffs could cause a recession, but their rice prices might still go up because of those specific tariffs.
Wow, rice again. It really highlights the uncertainty, doesn't it? Everyone's just watching the data.
Precisely.
Yeah.
Which raises that question, you know? If things really do fragment, how will these different central bank views play out? It's complex.
Speaking of complex and maybe a little dramatic, let's shift to something happening right here at home. A bit of a made-for-TV clash between President Trump and Elon Musk.
Oh, yeah. Saw that heating up again on X.
Right. Musk slammed the spending bill, called it insane, threatened to primary Republicans who vote for it. He even called them the Porky Pig Party.
He actually said that.
He did, and suggested maybe starting his own party, one that actually cares about the people.
Okay, wow. And Trump's response?
Predictable, maybe. He hit back hard, threatened to pull billions in government contracts and subsidies from Musk's companies.
Like SpaceX and Tesla.
Exactly. He specifically mentioned ending the $7,500 EV tax credit early, and then took a pretty personal shot, questioning Musk's immigration status, even though Musk is a citizen.
Yikes. That's quite the escalation. Did it hit Tesla's stock?
Oh, yeah. Down over 5%, maybe closer to 7% today. Now, the interesting part is the framing. Musk says he's worried about the national debt, how this bill makes borrowing more expensive. But analysts are quick to point out, maybe it's a bit self-interested.
How so?
Well, the debt ceiling stuff directly impacts borrowing costs for companies like his. And those clean energy incentives in the bill, Tesla definitely benefited from those, and now they're being cut.
Right, I see.
Trump, on the other hand, is framing it like Musk is just mad about losing EV subsidies. So, classic clash of big personalities with big money involved.
It really is. And while those two are going at it, there's another kind of big tech story unfolding with Apple.
Oh, yeah, the AI stuff.
Exactly. Reports suggest Apple is seriously considering using AI from outside companies like Anthropic or OpenAI to give Siri a major upgrade.
So they might sideline their own internal AI. I thought they just announced Apple Intelligence.
They did, but apparently those features haven't performed all that well. It kind of suggests their own AI tech is lagging behind what Microsoft, Google, and Meta have.
Huh. So is that bad for Apple?
Well, it's maybe a bit of a technical retreat, could ding their reputation for innovation a little, but analysts are actually calling it judicious. Smart, even.
Why smart?
Because it means they avoid spending billions on the super expensive hardware and infrastructure needed for cutting-edge AI, the CapEx. They can just leverage what others have built.
Okay, that makes sense. So what's the goal for Siri then?
The big idea is this agent functionality. Basically, letting AI go into your other apps and do stuff for you makes Siri way more useful, more conversational, and apparently that could happen really soon, maybe even this quarter.
Wow, okay.
And Apple's big advantage is still its ecosystem, right? All those iPhones out there. Plugging in better AI could really boost them, maybe even drive people to upgrade their devices.
Interesting. So from tech giants to global money flows, let's talk about the U.S. dollar. It's been having a rough time.
Yeah, weakest first half since 1973. That's a long time ago.
Wow, why?
Mostly expectations. The Fed might lean towards easier policy, lower rates, dovish expectations, plus some weaker economic data coming out, and just general uncertainty about policy. And the ripple effects are kind of fascinating. The euro, for example, is super strong against the Chinese yuan right now, a 10-year high.
Which helps Chinese exporters sell to Europe.
Exactly. Easier for them to pivot. And maybe the biggest surprise, emerging markets, their assets, bonds, stocks, currencies, had their best first half in years.
Really? Like money flowing in?
Yep, about $10 billion into equities. And get this, 18 out of 23 emerging market currencies actually gained against the weak dollar.
Okay, so what does a weaker dollar mean for, the average person listening? For you?
Well, it affects a lot. If you travel abroad, your money goes further. But imported goods might get more expensive over time. It cuts both ways.
Right. And looking at the wider picture, Asian markets started the quarter kind of cautiously, but Japan's Nikkei index actually had 5 straight days of gains. And the yen, strongest first half in 9 years, even with those tariff threats hanging over them.
That is surprising. South Korea's won did well, too.
So what are the big banks predicting now? Mixed signals.
You could say that. HSBC is talking about the beginning of a melt-up in risky assets, like stocks surging, partly because the weaker dollar helps U.S. companies' earnings. They think expectations are low, people aren't heavily invested yet.
The melt-up?
But Goldman Sachs, they think the rally might run out of steam heading into August. They're looking at history. Oh, and remember the auto market.
Yeah, tariffs driving sales up.
Well, they surged in the spring as people rushed to buy before potential price hikes.
Yeah.
But then sales dropped quite a bit in June, down from like 17.6 million annual rate to 15 million. And all this while, central bankers are still arguing about the neutral rate, that perfect interest rate that doesn't speed up or slow down the economy too much. Navigating, as one put it, tormented waters. And, Powell's even dealing with personal attacks from Trump.
It feels like everything's connected, but also pulling in different directions. Which brings us to this idea of fragmentation. Can we unpack that a little?
Sure. Fragmentation basically means the global economy becoming less open, less interconnected. Think reduced trade, countries focusing more inward.
And is that good or bad?
Generally, economists think it's bad for activity.
Yeah.
Less trade, less specialization usually means less overall economic growth. But there's a big debate about how much is really happening and what the impact will be.
Okay.
You definitely hear European leaders talking more about needing independence, more productivity, more autonomy. They learned some hard lessons, relying too much on, say, Russian energy or China as a market.
Right, like realizing you need more diverse suppliers, like we said before. Don't put all your eggs in one basket.
Exactly. And it even ties back to domestic stuff. Remember that big spending bill? The one big, beautiful bill.
The $100 billion for immigration efforts.
Right. Part of that money is apparently earmarked for new facilities. There's one planned in Florida nicknamed Alligator Alcatraz, meant to hold up to 1,000 migrants.
Alligator Alcatraz. Seriously.
That's the name floating around.
Yeah.
And predictably, it's facing pushback from environmental groups, civil rights groups. And the whole political messaging around immigration in that bill is all over the map, too. You hear about cutting waste, fraud, and abuse, but also claims that the bill will kill 800,000 jobs. It just shows how these big global ideas like fragmentation and national interest filter down into really specific, often contentious domestic policies.
Wow. Okay, so we've definitely covered a lot of ground today here on Sip and Talk. We went from that tight Senate vote on the spending bill
And the all-biter.
to the trade tension buildup, especially with Japan and the EU. Then the Trump versus Musk spat and Apple's interesting AI move.
Right. And the dollar slide, emerging markets doing well, and this whole fragmentation question.
It's a lot to track, but hopefully breaking it down like this helps you make sense of it all, see the connections.
Yeah, that's always the goal, to cut through the headlines and understand the forces at play and, why it actually matters.
So what does it all mean for you? It means staying informed about these interconnected issues. Policy, markets, global tensions really does give you a clearer picture, helps you navigate things with a bit more confidence. Keep digging, keep asking questions.
Absolutely. And maybe a final thought to leave you with, something to mull over. In this world where politics feels like theater sometimes, but the economic consequences are very real. What hidden connections, what unseen duct tape might be holding together parts of the global system in ways we don't even realize yet.
Ooh, that's a good one. Something to definitely ponder. All right, excellent point. We really hope you enjoyed this Sip and Talk. If you did, please hit that subscribe button wherever you listen to your podcasts. It really helps us out.
Yeah, definitely subscribe.
And hey, if you want some more fun memes, music, wine tasting, travel stuff, you have to check out our old buddy Mickey's YouTube channel. It's called Mickytolife. Seriously, go find it.
Mickytolife. good stuff.
It is. Also, look, we love digging into this stuff, but we're always looking for new ideas. If you hear about something interesting, something weird, something you think we should cover, let us know. Send those ideas our way.
Yeah, we'd love to hear from you.
Okay, that's it for us this time. Until next time, stay curious and stay informed.